Mr. Kaviris, how are you today?
I am doing well. We're on the second hill of our roller coaster, so you know we're doing well.
Okay. I'm a visual, so I can see that. Yes, I can
Yeah,
see that.
yeah. we're going up the hill. We're ready to plunge, but we're enjoying the ride. Mm,
That's good.
mm-mm.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, we give people just a few more minutes to get in. It's 1 o'clock. Maybe a minute or two, and then we want to start on time. Okay, I see about 20 people already with us. That is good. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the February Cohort 3 session. I hope everyone had a pleasant winter break and a smooth return to school after the holidays. Yes? Put in the chat if it's a yes. I'm hoping it was smooth for you guys. Uh, I am Cheryl Fitz. I'm your SEL representative, and I'm here to answer your SEL questions or assist with resources, thoughts, ideas related to SEL within your districts. I will be facilitating the conversation today. I and Angie Neal, another cohort member. Some of you may be wondering, and I'm seeing some thumbs up. That's good. I'm glad. Some of you may be wondering why Ann Moore isn't leading our group today. She and another member of our team have been reassigned to other duties in OSIS and is no longer serving within any of the cohorts. And so Ann asked me to let you know that she is always here if anyone would like to talk or ask questions or anything else, and that she will miss talking with everyone. We greatly appreciate Ann, her input, her leadership within our cohort, and we'll miss having her direct input. She'll still be connected, but just not directly with us. So for those of you who want to connect with Ann, her email is acmoore@ed.se.gov. So feel free to reach out to her. That's acmoore@ed.se.gov. I'm going to ask the OSIS Cohort 3 team members who are here with us to unmute and introduce themselves.
Hi there, my name is Angie Neal, and I am the speech language pathology contact, and I am also your representative to contact anytime you have questions related to early childhood.
Hi, I'm Talani Edwards. I'm part of the Physical Grants Management team, and I'm a fiscal monitor. And if you have fiscal questions, I'll be happy to assist you.
Hi, I'm Jill Christmas. I recognize many of your names from an assessment. I'm on day, I think 10 now,
Are you
11.
counting still?
I've been counting and now I'm starting to lose track. Day
Okay.
10 or 11 of double duty. I'm now the team lead in the Office of Special Education Services for the post-secondary outcomes team and the social emotional learning team. So I am thrilled to be with you guys today.
Thanks, Jill. And I'm Sarah McKay, and I'm on the academics focused team, and also glad to be here today in cohort 3, obviously.
Some of you may also remember Tamara Valentine. She was a part of our cohort, but she has also been reassigned. And Jill has graciously offered to work with us for the post-secondary outcomes piece of our work until we have someone who can replace Anne in that position. So thanks, Jill, for joining. Before we start our conversation, let's get a pulse on where everyone is today. Sarah, can you put the island question in the chat? I can't hear you, Sarah.
Hang on just a minute, and I believe I can send this. Nope, I am wrong. Okay, I need to learn how to do that. So, just give me 1 second here.
Okay. Yeah, we wanted to get a pulse of where everyone is today, just to kind of take a minute and breathe. I know your work can be difficult, can be stressful. As an SEL person, I want to keep the social emotional part of our conversations going. Just so we have a quick question. I think that Sarah just put in the chat. Which tropical island would you like to escape to? I'm sorry, Tamani, were you talking? Go ahead.
Should mute this so you don't hear all the bleeps coming in. Oh, Turks and Caicos, Belize, Bahamas. Oh, somebody added their own answer in there. Belize. Yeah, Belize is very nice, isn't it? Hawaii.
Back to Hawaii.
Back to Hawaii. Another one for Kirks and Caicos. If I can do that again. What is that called when you switch the first 2 letters? Another one for Hawaii.
Is it called a malparism? Something like that?
Something, I think, yes.
Yeah,
I like wishing for a sunny, warm, beachy spot, though. That's for sure. Even
I
just
know,
a
I'm
few
thinking
minutes spending on that.
Exactly. I'd say my fingers are a little chilly right now, so that would be especially nice. And then, so now that you're thinking about that, we have a part 2 to that question, and that is, how long would you stay before coming back? 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, or who said anything about coming back?
Pretty sure I could stay in Hawaii forever. How about you guys? If y'all went, would you go for vacation or would you go for the extended vacation?
I say, move my
Not
residence.
coming back. There you go. A couple of depends on the day. That's a good answer. Yeah, you do need at least 2 weeks to kind of settle down. And then by 2 weeks or 2 months, you kind of feel like you live there. So, ooh, Madagascar. That sounds exotic.
Yeah, I love these answers. Thank you guys for doing that. Madagascar for 2 years. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for doing that. Wow, we did get our minds on the tropics for a little bit, which is nice, a nice reprieve. Secondly, the reason we did that was because we are focusing on you and focusing on supporting you. Now, while we can't necessarily send you and your family to a tropical island, we can do our best to support you in your efforts in serving students with disabilities and their families. Angie, would you talk about our next slide, please?
Sure.
We'll get to our next slide. Yes.
Okay, so here we go. So these meetings that we'll be having as part of just being cohort 3, these are all about you and all about us supporting you. So I'm really hoping to make sure that by the end of today's meeting that you feel like you're in a safe place where you can say, hey, I've got a question about this. I'm concerned about this. I had a thought about this. Even if this is a thought that might make things better, please do share that. Let us know. Oh man, please let us know what's working well. What are your successes that you're seeing? Good news travels fast, and we want to help it travel faster. But also let us know what your struggles are, because we are here to support you. That's exactly why we're here. So again, please feel free to ask questions. If you don't want to ask them out loud. If you don't want to type them in the chat, our emails are going to be on the very last slide. And so you're welcome to even email us separately if you have a question. And if we don't know the answer immediately, our job is to find out. And we will find out and we will let you know. So these meetings also serve another role of also sharing any new information with you. So anything that's updated, anything that's coming, any follow-up answers to questions that have been that you've asked us before. And again, we hope that in subsequent meetings, you'll continue to share, hey, we tried this, it worked. We tried this, it didn't. So just let us know what's happening in your district. And again, the more we can work together and have OSIS work with districts and districts work with OSIS, the better the outcomes will be. And that is why we're here, is improving outcomes. So these meetings, the heart of these meetings is all about the communication and the collaboration with OSIS and in between all of the cohort 3 teams.
Thank you, Angie. So let's talk about what we're doing today. Remember, it's collaboration. We definitely want to hear from you. So even in the title is saying, let's talk. But today we're going to be talking about the SOTA, or the System of Tiered Assistance Root Cause Analysis. We're going to be sharing, or hopefully hearing your thoughts on what's happening or what is to happen next in SOTA. We want to get your thoughts on how we can structure next steps to best fit your needs. And we also want to give you an opportunity to share what's been happening in your district. Those things that Angie was talking about, let us know what's happening, the good things. We've heard some good things. So I do hope that our districts feel comfortable enough to share it with you today. And then we're going to end this session with some brainstorming. How can we ensure that these monthly sessions are indeed valuable to you? And in order to do that, we need your input. So yes, unmute as we go along, type comments, ask questions in the chat. You can respond to what we're saying here at OSIS. You can respond to what your colleagues have shared. But we do ask that when you unmute, that you identify yourself with your name and your district. And this will also help for recording and note-taking purposes. Okay, so we did ask two of our districts to help start the conversation. We're talking about root cause analysis. You know, there are 4: early childhood, post-secondary outcomes, academic outcomes, and social emotional learning. Several of our districts have already submitted RCAs: Georgetown, Williamsburg, Florence 1, and I think Florence 4 as well. We've asked Georgetown and Williamsburg if they could start the conversation, share their thoughts, and help to get things going. So let's start with Williamsburg. Ms. Murphy, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay. Could you tell us the RCAs your district's completed, how much time it took, and your thoughts on doing all 4?
We completed the one for academics and social emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And it took us probably, we completed them on 2 separate days. So I think roughly about 40 minutes for one, and then the social emotional, we struggled with that a little bit, so that might have taken us about an hour to complete that one, because we just wanted to be kind of thorough in making sure that we had identified what our strengths were, but we also wanted to be very transparent in what our weaknesses were, so that we could identify which areas we needed to strengthen and work on a little bit more.
Okay. How many are in your team?
2, 4, 5.
Okay, that's a good size.
I'm wondering if you had some questions that you came up with while you were going through the process that maybe hadn't been asked.
Well, we completed it back in November. So
Reaches way back.
yeah, so we completed it almost immediately as soon as it went out. We were definitely on top of it. But a lot of as we were going through, we noticed that there was a lot of common themes between what we were seeing with students with disabilities as well as what we were seeing with our general education students. So as we were talking and thinking about, okay, this is what's happening in the special education classes, and then someone would be, well, we did an observation in a gen ed class, those were some of the same needs and struggles. And when we were looking at our academic achievement and comparing that, we was like, well, this seems to be more systemic as well. And so at that particular point, we just kind of identified that it was probably something that we needed to work on as a district and not just focus on students with disabilities, but how we could bridge the gap. And so that was very important in working with you all. Our cohort team or our SOTA team from the State Department as to how to present it to our academic leaders within our district and trying to ensure that we had buy-in and that the needs of all the students, as well as students with disabilities, were being talked about or being considered when decisions were being made for implementation or for when we look at student achievement, that we're not just focusing on the gen ed population without considering the impacts or the needs of students with disabilities.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said that. I know our director has always said that special education students are general education students first. So we really do need to make sure we're looking at the big picture.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's a great observation.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kavirs, what did you see? What are your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, no doubt. First off, I need to thank the lady from Williamsburg. You broke the ice and made it a little easier for me. So appreciate that. And I don't know what island I'm right now, but as you were talking about that, I changed my background because I went there now. I didn't know if you would give us a prize or not at the end, so I just left. But that being said, a couple things. We chose to look at two areas. So we chose to look at social emotional and then post-secondary. One of the big ahas, especially with the social emotional, and actually in our district overall, we just got a new superintendent July 1st. So you can imagine him coming into a new district with the middle of a pandemic and trying to figure out how we're going to start school. But actually this SOTA situation has allowed us to bring everybody to the table. We always talk about special ed. Sometimes in the past was in its own little silo. We're combining and the silos are getting closer. They're not perfect yet, but this has allowed us to kind of get in conversation, and COVID-19 has allowed us all to work together because there's no answer. So bringing everyone to the table and being able to look at social and emotional, and as we were looking at it, we noticed we had a lot of good things going on, but I'm going to emphasize the word a lot. And so we are doing with our MTSS coordinator, again, a relationship that may or may not have been as solid as it's progressing now. We're looking at all those screeners and some of the things that we have in place at the elementary, and we're going to vet them, and we're going to come up with a plan where, not say one size fits all, but we're not going to have 10 different choices because we're all over the place. And those people, guidance counselors, whoever, can't have conversations about what works and doesn't work if we're all singing, playing different instruments and we're not even in the band together. So that has helped us a lot. It also has brought us to the table with our career and tech ed director as far as on post-secondary outcomes and trying to figure out how we can kind of be more, as they said before, I mean, these students are gen ed students first, special ed second. It's a service, not a place type situation. And so that has allowed us to kind of bond together. We actually have a curriculum team in which special ed is part of, which I'm very excited about. And to sit there and be able to kind of interject what's going on in here. I will say this, you talked about the time, and it's probably about the same time. I don't know about everybody, but if you're like me, I did the survey first, and then I went back to it again, because the first time was all about, well, I don't know, I want to make myself look or feel better. Feel better. I don't say look, feel better about some things. And then we went through it again, and then we start really looking at saying, okay, yeah, we may have rated ourselves a little higher in this area, and really we're not there. And if we're really truly looking at this instrument as a helpful tool and not a gotcha, it's a helpful tool. I mean, you got to know where your deficits are. I mean, you can look in the mirror, and if you're like me, a little heavier, I can lie to myself and say I can fit in a size 2, but come on now, the reality is what you are, and you work at it to get it down. So I think that's what helped us a lot. We had, like I said, we had our career tech person look with us with the post-secondary. We've had a group look at the SEL. So our groups, you want to say a number, 4 to 5, it differs on what we're looking at. And we actually had some others that I wouldn't consider of a director type ship, but kind of work in his office to kind of look at some things and say, hey, does that sound about what we're doing? And you know, sometimes those folks are they're the leveler. Yeah, we're not really doing it what we think we're doing. And so I think it was easier for us to kind of look at that, go through those areas, rate us accordingly, and then go back to it a second time. We may have to went a third time, I'm not sure, but I know definitely a second time to revamp, because we did it and we're like, yeah, okay. And then we're like, let's go back and look at it again. And so that was very, very beneficial. You know, one thing that we have created, I guess, from this all that just kind of happenstance is, you know, we're always looking at discipline. And so we created a little task force of some, I didn't do the principals. They're not the one doing discipline. We got our assistant principals involved. So I have 4 or 5 from different levels. We are actually doing some training with the Leaving the Village group, which is a young man. If you want any information about that, he has some, we're actually doing a seminar right now. In fact, when I leave here, I got to jump back on there. But it's about restorative practices and options to in-school and out-of-school suspension. So we'll see if it's worthwhile, but I know some people have really liked it. And we're also reading the book Hacking School Discipline, in which that group is taking chapters, and we'll do a round robin and share. But that Hacking School Discipline is about restorative practice as well. I would suggest that book to anybody. It's written by Nathan Maynard and Brand Weinstein, and it is written in real words, so that we not hypothetical academia, professionalship, never been in the room type situation. I mean, it's the real deal, and so it relates to everybody.
What was that book again?
What's that? Man, it's called Hacking School Discipline: 9 Ways to Create a Culture of Empathy, Responsibility, and Restorative Justice. It's the Hack Learning series, and it's by Nathan Maynard, Maynard, and Brad Weinstein. It is an extremely easy, I can put that in the chat. I'll do that in chat. Once I'm done, I'll just pop it in there. But it is an extremely easy read and very practical, and just I've enjoyed. It's the second time I'm reading it, but we're reading it with a different group, so it'd be interesting to get their perspectives on it. And our ultimate goal is to come up with some ideas and then share it with our principals. And it's PBS driven too as well. You'll see pieces of that in there too, but it's worth a read, and it's not a real lengthy book, but it's very interesting. So.
Well, it sounds like both of you guys were able to use the SOTA and connect with the Gen Ed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the idea of it, but yeah, it definitely is.
He hit on a lot of great points there, because it did get you to the table.
Right.
You know? And it did get us talking together about how things, you know, are interlocked and interactive between general education and special education, and you know, the expectations that Gen Ed is first and foremost. And so how do we maintain or keep those students in general education who really can strive and be there with the necessary supports that, you know, we can offer through special services? So that, you know, as Mr. Caveira said, we got to the table now. And so they call us more often. You know, we're actually in
Oh,
the
that's
middle
nice.
of
They're calling you.
Yeah.
Right. That is
our
critical.
district strategic
Yes.
plan in years past. There was nothing mentioned about students with disability in our district strategic plan. And so now it's like everything is reading MTSS and how, you know, we look at that tiered instruction and how to meet students' needs, all students' needs through that tiered instruction process.
That's great. Let me ask you
Mhm.
guys this question. Both of you did two, I think.
Right.
How would you feel about doing all four?
I'll jump in this year. There's no way. It's, this is a year like another. I mean, our situation when we looked at those two were two areas that we thought, I think, probably get the least amount of looks at. Academics are always going to be pushed no matter what, special ed or general ed, and especially now with as we're referring to the COVID slide and all those concerns with just everybody. There's a lot going on in that part. And in all honesty, our early childhood was probably one of the areas that we were strongest in. So that was an area that we didn't feel like, we're gonna, if we had the opportunity to kind of not do them all like we were given that opportunity this time, those are the two we wanted to kind of concentrate on. And I'm thankful because I don't know how. I don't know. I don't even feel like we probably put as much as we should have so far in it because of everything's going on, and
Things happening.
we're just changing a face to face in another 2 day in another week and a half, all five days face to face, and that has caused a lot of just a new situation. Like I said, new roller coaster hill that we're riding up, and we'll get through it. But so yeah, it's definitely, but it's got us to the table, and as she said, because we've had these conversations about COVID and this and that, and what we're going to do with our special ed population, what we're going to do with our regular ed, and oh, wait a minute, let's all just get to the table and figure out how we going to get whatever. It has made everybody look at each other and say, yeah, we probably need each other at the table just for your knowledge of looking at something differently, not always just special ed, but just differently.
Exactly.
And so it's allowed us to get that access, which I would consider would continue. I mean, I think that's it will continue. It will not phase out because we're going to be dealing with this for another year or two in a sense, and by that time it should be a habit, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I agree with Mike. We didn't do post-secondary and we didn't do early childhood because again, early childhood was our area of strength.
right.
But uniquely enough, when we came up with 3 goals that we wanted to accomplish as a group, general education as well as special education, Gen Ed was, they were saying we're not getting outcomes that we need in early childhood. So maybe even though it's a strength for special education, maybe we can kind of look at how to work together so that we can continue to keep that as a strength for special education, but we can also improve that for our 4K and 5K students within the district. What are you all doing to, raise levels in your 3 and 4 and 5-year-old program? And so that was the unique thing that they wanted to learn from us, and so that was pretty good. And
Mhm.
we didn't choose post secondary because even though everyone is looking at academics, I don't think that they look at special education academics because the thinking historically is, well, we're going to fall by the wayside anyhow. And so we wanted to kind of debunk that idea
Okay.
that special education will fall by the wayside. Like, we can learn, we can achieve, we just need to have access to that Gen Ed curriculum so that we can work together. And so one of the things that we pitched and has kind of taken root is implementing co-teaching as it should be implemented and kind of building more of a co-teaching type of a model. And so we've spoken with 2 principals and we've spoken with some teachers from those schools. And we did a district survey. We were gathering additional information, but I threw in a few questions asking about co-teaching, and they were receptive to it. So we're excited about those possibilities.
That is exciting. Before we go on to the next question, I want to give anybody in the meeting, any districts, an opportunity to ask a question. Do you guys have questions? Do you have comments? I think Florence 1, Florence 4, if you've done, I think you've done and submitted RCA. If you have comments, now is a good time because we want to hear from you guys. You can put it in the chat, you can unmute.
This is Brian Denny from Florence 1. We chose to do all 4.
Okay.
We felt like it was, and I'll have to say, I can't take any credit for it. I have a group of supervisors across the board that met and did these things, so I'd have to defer to them. I did want to say that if I was going to go anywhere, I'd go to Swanbourne Beach in Australia. And I'll let you look that up. Anyway, so I say all that to say that we did all 4 and chose to look at all of them. So I'd have to. I know I've got I think 3 of my supervisors on here. So if one of them wants to unmute and kind of talk about the process, I know ours was a very long process because we did all 4, and we felt like that was just something that we needed to do. So I don't know if Amanda, Amy, or Sonia, if y'all are on here, if one of y'all wants to talk about that process, or if there was anything else you wanted to know from us besides the process and how long it took and all that.
Well, you did say it took a while. Did you meet separately, separate groups? How did you work that out?
And they left, and for good reason. They left me out of it, so I would have to defer to one of them. They were
Okay.
Amy said she could speak to it, so we'll let her speak. Amy Sansbury is one of our special education supervisors, and she's one of our elementary, so I'll let her talk to that. Amy, go ahead.
Okay, so what we did is we divided it up, and I was responsible for the social emotional SOTA, and we met 4 different times. So it was not overwhelming because we split it up and had 4 different meetings, and then we had a pretty broad team. We had a representative of a school psychologist, our related services coordinator was with us, all 3 supervisors, and just some other people that were relevant to whatever it covered. Like for the secondary one, we had our transition coordinator, that kind of thing. And then we really just spent a lot of time going through, considering each question, talking about our strengths and weaknesses, and trying to give it a fair rating.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most of them end up taking probably between an hour and a half is probably kind of around, somewhere longer than others, but probably about an hour and a half a piece.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. That is good information. Thank you. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
sharing that.
You're welcome.
One more question. I don't know if we asked this, Angie. Did you guys think there was anything missing?
Mm-hmm.
In the
Anything
RCA?
missing, or anything you're like, even hindsight now that you've completed them, is there anything where you're like, I wish they had asked this,
Mhm.
or I didn't feel like this was
I
included?
thought they were extremely thorough. I think
Okay.
the only thing that we sometimes had a hard time with in our group discussion is, and I know we got a little bit of guidance on this before we started, kind of think about it in the general lens of special education, but a lot of the questions, I think especially like on the social emotional, they were so broad that it really felt like you were coming from a whole school perspective rather than a special ed perspective.
Right.
So you just try to think about it whole school, but also think about it through the lens of special ed.
Mhm.
So we did there was a little confusion among the team there about whether, or, are you asking, do we do this specifically in special ed, or is this a whole school type of thing that we do, or a whole district type of thing?
Okay.
That's
Gotcha.
a good point. And then
That
I
is.
also wonder,
Very
are there any suggestions you have that might make it easier?
Some of the questions and the way that they were phrased, like the header of the question, kind of made it clear whether or not you were coming from like just specifically a special ed lens or more of a whole school lens. So maybe just on the headers, just clarify a little bit. And maybe you never meant for us to be coming from a whole school lens. I'm not sure, but that did seem to cause us a little bit of confusion. But it was good because it started a lot of good conversations about where we need to go and how general ed and special ed need to work together in a meaningful way.
Awesome.
Okay.
And anytime you're doing those or filling those out and you're like, you know what, I have a thought, please share that. Our goal is to make this as easy and as thoughtful as possible. So anytime you come up with an idea, just let us know.
Okay, great.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. This is some good stuff. One more question on this current slide for LEAs who have not completed any of the 4 RCAs. Can you share with us why you chose not to this year? Was it just the time? You weren't sure about the process? Anybody willing just to let us know?
Hey guys, this is Bessie Westmoreland with Cherokee County School District Director of Student Services. And we did not complete these because I'm the COVID captain. So I'm responsible of everything that revolves around COVID this school year. And time was absolutely going to be a factor.
Understand that. There's a lot going on this year. Anybody else? I mean, Nicole gave this beautiful incentive, but we know a lot is happening. A lot is happening.
So thanks to those who have already started filling these out and have already filled them out to helping us work through some of the kinks. And again, with the goal of making it as easy and thoughtful as possible.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so what's next? There's been a lot of great information shared. Thank you. Thank you for everyone doing that. Now we want to talk a little bit about what happens after the RCAs. What's next? This is for our tier 1 and tier 2. We want to hear from everyone. If and or when you go through the SOTA process, we want to know your insights. Say you completed the RCA, you've had introductory meetings with OSIS, you did a data dive or additional data dives, you talk with your teams, you determine what your focus area is going to be. So what now? What does the action planning look like to you? Open to anybody. Well, what should it look like to you?
Okay, well, where we are now, after we've already met with the state team and we've met with our district instructional leaders, we are now looking at how we can address the issues that we've identified. As far as, academics, we wanted to see if there was a need for or an interest in co-teaching. So we've done some initial surveys to get feedback from across the district. We're looking at how to best look at our handbook again. And so I like what Georgetown is doing, and maybe we can get some of our assistant principals to review the handbook with us as we look at discipline and provide that much needed training on discipline. We also have our MTSS framework, which is addressing social emotional needs, which is great. COVID has allowed, that to be one of the main focus for the district. So that's one thing that we're working on, and those are some actions that we're moving towards as we identified our 2 areas.
Okay. Okay, so you're meeting with Gen Ed, you're making decisions as to what comes next for your action plan. You've already created your goals, right?
Yes.
Do you think you would like more support from OSIS in that action planning? That doesn't mean, I mean, what do you honestly feel like? Do you feel like OSIS should or should not? I mean, what do you need? You tell us.
Well, just the training, we reached out before and had to do some rescheduling because there was some other stuff that we had going on, but just really trying to guide us through the process for co-teaching and, and making sure we identify the areas of needs to implement that successfully. I think that right now we've identifying screeners and looking at how to meet, each school now has an MTSS framework plan, which includes social emotional. And so our next step is to now start doing screeners of all of our students to see who have been identified as needing some of those needs. And so we can start to intervene, and each school is, again, looking at how, we made the move to ensure that we had behavior interventionists in each school to address those social emotional needs. So at this point, supporting us with the academic piece is very important. And I think that just coming out of COVID, the district is looking at social emotional a little bit closer district wide.
Okay. Okay, so more of a support and guidance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I would agree as well, especially with looking at action plans and making sure and I know we're meeting next week with some of y'all, and that's kind of what I'd like to discuss, the next steps where we got information together. We have what we're kind of looking at, but just kind of make sure our action plan or what we're thinking would be what would be expected when we go through what we're going through next year type situation. So, yep.
Okay.
And real quick question, if we're allowed to do this, and
yeah,
of course,
the lady from Williamsburg, if you can't tell me, that's fine. But you said you have behavior interventions at each school. You're somewhat size of us. How's that getting paid for?
I would have to find out, to be honest, because that's a general education initiative.
Gotcha.
So it actually wasn't something that was funded like, by using special services funds or anything like that. It was actually a general ed initiative as we made MTSS our instructional framework.
Gotcha. Okay. Appreciate it. Well, I might reach out to you later on. I'm right down the road, so I can just jump over the board and come see you.
No, let me come to you. Y'all have better restaurants.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You are exactly right. We go to the barbecue joint out there near Johnsonville. Hemingway.
Excellent example of collaboration.
Yeah, don't talk about barbecue in Hemingway. Yeah. It's good.
Go to Big D's, everyone. All right, I'll reach out to you, man. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else want to comment? Anybody from Tier 1? Okay, now it's sharing time. What's happening in your new normal, quote unquote? We've already heard from Williamsburg and Georgetown. They're connecting with the Gen Ed. They're at the table. Anybody else have any good things to share? Or maybe not so good things to share. You need some ideas of how you can address something. I heard you're supposed to count to 12 to give people time to respond.
I'm also curious too, what do you have, and do you anticipate any things coming ahead? From an early childhood perspective, I know we've talked about some concerns related to that. So I'm curious if there's anything that you're anticipating that maybe we can go ahead and start to address.
Well, something that I think, we spoke about last year initially when the pandemic hit. It's really, right now what I'm getting is a lot of referrals for special education because of regression of our students, kind of district wide, and just really trying to
tease that out.
Yes, because parents are panicking when they see that there's slippage, and so they're really concerned and feel like, okay, well, special education is what my child needs, and we're offering supplemental services and doing other things around our district as far as like we have 21st Century and really looking at the students and identifying who needs to be where in our tiered programs. But the first reaction is this kid needs to be in special ed.
Is anybody else seeing that as well?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. Because a lot of it, it's the lack of instruction.
This is Natasha McDonald from Ori.
Great.
I do think that sorry, Mike, were you talking?
No, ma'am, sorry.
Okay. Our school psychologists are certainly feeling this, and it is that balance of our students truly, do they truly have a disability, or are we looking at, all these mitigating factors that have to go along with being out, on distance learning in the spring and then coming back through hybrid and all the different modes that we've all faced. And so I do think that's, I think we're going to start seeing more pushback. I hope we don't, but it would be nice, if there's something that, nobody really knows what to expect nationwide even. But I know that as our school psychs, like I said, are feeling the pressure and our school teams are too, to just make sure that we are looking at students who truly meet the criteria of having a disability, when you also have to look at what their journey has looked like for the past year.
And also looking at interventions that maybe we need to consider offering or putting in place, or all of the above. So that if there is a gap related to instruction and just all the craziness of this year, what specific interventions can we give them to try and close that gap?
Right. So are your RTI and SAT teams very busy right now?
Yes. Very much.
Okay, so is there anything you want us to be sure and address for the next time? Anything you're like, oh man, I have this burning question for OSIS. I really want to know.
I think Sarah put in the chat that school sites can get in touch with Lisa McClimate for their questions, and her email address is in the chat.
There's also, as part of our, many of us are going through some training right now based on the science of reading. And so Lisa has some guidance coming out that, refers to your core one instruction and whether that's, been solid enough for students. So she's got some information she has coming out on that. Also, Lisa has, and I don't know if it's coming next month. Jill, do you want to talk anything about determinations? Since we're talking about what would you like us to work on for our next meeting? Should I just throw that out
day
there?
10, day 10, Sarah.
All right. All right.
And particularly for the districts who aren't going through SOTA right now, we want this to be
yes,
informative for you and valuable to you. So can you tell us what kind of information would be helpful? What kind of information can we share here in our cohorts that would support you? Just something burning, like, I wish they would talk about.
or even just topics that you want to talk with your peers about. Like one thing I was learning in, I don't know, one of the meetings I've been in this past week was, one district does like school level determinations, and another district was like, oh, I wish I knew how to, or I had more information on that. And yeah.
You can unmute, you can put it in the chat. I
I'm
think I
just
hear
gonna
someone.
out here, Ms. Fitz, is there through like say our next meeting, whatever, do you think it's possible to have maybe like a brief little maybe overview of the 4 different areas and the person that is involved in that to kind of give us maybe a little more ideas of what we can ask questions? I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but if you understand that,
Sure.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone from each focus group just kind of
Yeah,
talk
just
about.
take a little time and say just, or and what related to the soda, or maybe we can start using that information to start thinking about those questions that we'll have to contact Miss Christmas with after the fact. Say, okay, I see how that fits in, or Matt, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Shooting it out there.
That's a great idea. We'll be glad to do that because things are changing, and we'll be glad to share with you what's happening.
If I could request something else, if we could do social emotional first. The only reason is that is such a hot topic. I mean, from our parents to community to whoever, and I don't mean just special ed. I mean like every kid, and why we got to get back to school and what we need to offer, and look at some certain things, maybe some others that are doing, maybe a share type thing, because that seems to be like the main reason, other than the slide educationally of those needs. And so, that's just a request.
Maybe,
Absolutely.
we could share that, or well, I mean, have y'all seen the social emotional website that they've worked on?
The State Department has
Oh,
a
yes. Yeah.
SEL portal.
Yes.
Yeah. We can share that. We can share what's been happening within the focus group. We can talk a little bit about the RCA. Would that help you guys? We talked a little bit about that.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it used to be a TV show or something that said, "Your wish is my command." So we'll do that. Okay, great. Just to let you know, these are your cohort points of contact right now for the school districts that Ann was
Thanks.
point of contact. You guys feel free to call me or email me. Clarendon 123, Lancaster and Horry. Feel free to give me a call. If you have any kind of question, if I don't know, then I can connect with one of my other cohort team members and go out into OSIS itself. If we need to find your answers, we can find your answer. Okay. Any other questions before we leave? Because the session for today is almost over. We got 8 minutes left. And I might give you guys a whole 7 minutes, Pack. What about that? 7 minutes.
How can we access the recording to this after the fact? Where's it going to be at? Would it be under like cohort 3 or?
That's a good question. Anybody on the team knows how they can access the recording?
We can find, I have no clue, but we can, I don't know. Do you think we could send it out to the?
I think we can. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've done it with Zoom meetings that they can get kind of big. So you have to have somebody with some technology background as far as being able to send it out, because it's a large, whatever large data, I guess. But Ms. Daniels, who my right hand, is not able to view this, and I'd like for her to be able to kind of see it at her leisure.
Okay, we'll find that out and let you know. Sarah's saying something. Sarah, we can't hear you.
Can't. I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? No? Yes. That Becky could send out an email saying where it would be, but I'm guessing it would be where all the other LEA calls would be on our website, but I just don't know where that is.
Okay. Yeah, we'll find out specifically and let you guys know how to access the recording.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of the meeting today. We look forward to March 17th. That's the next one. Put it on your calendar.
Yep.
And send in questions beforehand if there's something you want us to answer at the next meeting. You can send in a question, comments, suggestions, etc. Thank you guys so much for attending today. It was a good conversation.
Thank you for
Thanks, everybody.
attending and talking and sharing and collaborating. We just appreciate it so much.
All right, Ms. Fitz, see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Bye
Bye, guys.